All right, everyone. It happened because there's going to be a big Amazon MGM news. Not only Denis Villeneuve, director of Prisoners, Arrival, Brainwater 2049, and Doom movies, were on board for the next directing the next James Bond movie, but Amazon MGM Studios had and signed a multi-year international theatrical distribution deal with Sony Pictures. That's right, NGN reunited with an old friend from Skyfall, Spectre, and 21 Jump Street movies for this international theatrical distribution. So as probably this is a shock because Amazon has have been working with NGM before, mostly for a couple of movies. There's James Bond's Skyfall and Spectre, and the 24/1 Jump Street movies, and especially the remake of Digital 7, which stars Denzel Washington, Chris Pratt, and Ethan Hawke. You've seen the movie. I don't know why. I don't know why you say that. Anyway, because he had reunited from the theatrical international distribution label deal was probably not gone more access between of the previous distribution partner Warner Brothers, who did have few success, notable co challengers, Luca Guadagnino's challengers, was probably got nominated and he got success. But Amazon go ahead. But even the box office success, like they beat a working man. The movie, interesting enough, this movie being live action Disney's live action woke remake of Snow White at the box office. Go figure. So yeah, the reason because in had it ended to deal with Amazon NGM ended Amazon NGM Warner Brothers international deal has come to the close after the last movie, Conan 3, was a success in the box office. In fact, Warner Brothers retained the distribution rights international and some even at the beginning in the movie had a logo with Warner Bros. Pictures added. So I'm not sure that Warner Brothers go ahead to distribute the movie, but even had nothing to do with even Amazon and GM was probably related. But anyway, um, but I digress. But yeah, Amazon and GM and Sony Pictures are reunited for the first time since 2018, 2016, 17, I don't know. But he didn't have an access, but he wouldn't want to do something better. It won't become the international theatrical distribution of for Amazon NGM Studios under Sony Pictures distribution. So there's reason that upcoming films, including After the Hunt, was the first film under the Amazon NGM Sony Pictures international deal. Mercy, Crime 101, and the Project Hail Mary. So the reason because it's one of those different between Amazon and GM, which will expand the theatrical distribution because it after it ended with the international deal with Warner Brothers, it want to expand the brand. Like he want to do Amazon and GM wants to be the major studio, was no longer a mini major, but now it's become like say Orion Pictures type studio. So not enough. I haven't know that NGN had relationship with the international deals, even under the two studios who may had international deals. You never the Periton movie distributors video. Well, I haven't mentioned SF Studios and Eagle Pictures from Italy. I'm gonna tell you. Um, SF Studios was a long-time distribution partner, the theatrical distribution partner for Sony Pictures since 2018. Since 2019, we began the theatrical distribution, and later that year, when COVID pandemic happened, they eventually went to the release on home entertainment distribution due to takeover by Universal and Sony Pictures Home Entertainment Company. But now it's from under the SF Studios brand. But now he's been there for about, but interestingly enough, as SF has an in distribution deal, long-time distribution partner with NGN back in the early 2000s after since 20th Century Fox, now on 20th Century Studios under Disney, and had a deal, international deal with MGM for a couple of years, and SF retained SF had the home entertainment rights. But then later in early 2010s, after MGM going on the bankruptcy, SF took over uh, as a theatrical and home entertainment distribution rights to MGM, mostly upcoming films like Skyfall and other MGM projects. Well, but now, since 2022, NGN ended the deal with SF Studios and ended the deal with NGM since after Amazon bought NGM, and they had an international distribution deal with Warner Brothers. And now here we are. SM reunited with the old friend Amazon NGN. We're now under the current SF Studios current partner distribution partner Sony Pictures. So we'll wait to see. But I hope if you're probably going to include the logo from the SF Studios in the beginning logo, like did in a couple of years, like in the movies. The last films was Till biopic, and now and under the and Disney, under Warner Brothers. So I probably know that we're pretty much many people audience want SF Studios. Why might reunite with old friend from James Bond and Rocky franchise. Like, say you are about him working for over a decade, and here we are. He reunited when under the two partners, Sony Pictures and NGN. Yep, they got reunited. So we'll wait to see in the film At the Hunt in September, October, whatever. But the second film company who know from foreign film company had to deal with agreement with relationship between MGM and Sony Pictures was Eagle Pictures from Italy. Eagle Pictures had to deal with MGM back in 2017, 2018. They have the select titles mostly from movies were probably released in Italy. Um, some movies like the Addams Family movies, House of Gucci, Scene Runner, Licorice Pizza, and a couple others. But and he also was sponsoring international distribution with of the Annapurna Pictures at the time when Amazon NGN required relationship with Annapurna Pictures, where to late and the founder Megan Ellison. He had a movie called Booksmart, so used in that. But between after that, Eagle Pictures ended with a distribution deal with NGM. When, like I said, he had to deal with Warner Brothers. But around the same time, Eagle Pictures, who had a distribution uh, agreement with Sony Pictures in Italy, where first they had a home entertainment distribution, and now went to theatrical distribution. Because you saw in Peru video. Um, Peru, we had to deal with Eagle Pictures, who had to deal with the two Predator movies before that, and now and the first film was only retained by Eagle Pictures under the deal with Sony Pictures. So that's the entire audience will respect that. So there's that. So and anyway, so that's a two. So yeah, now here we are. Eagle Pictures in agreement with the two old friends from the film studios, Amazon NGM and Sony Pictures. So we'll wait to see what happened. And like I said, After the Hunt was might be their first film under the new deal. Who knows? But I want to mention. I forgot to mention of. Whenever I said the Icon 2 was probably the release under Warner Bros. Well, the same time that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon's production company, Arcus Equity, were on board, signed a theatrical film agreement with Sony Pictures. And I think the current two were releasing for Warner Brothers in the international agreement, while Sony Pictures also agreement um, in in the first film. But I'm not sure. But between the Accounting 3 movie will probably release on the with Warner Brothers or maybe straight up Sony Pictures. So we'll see, but we'll wait to see why. But I'm not sure, but we'll wait to see. So I think that the distribution agreement will confuse that he had a release for Warner Brothers. The first two films distributed internationally by Warner Brothers. The latter one was probably under with Amazon and GM. We had to deal with the time. It was the last film by the way. So yeah, there we go. I would excite a new era from Amazon, NGN, and the old partner Sony Pictures to bring on a new international theatrical distribution to life. Now, I mentioned that the Denis Villeneuve's Bond 26 movie, the untitled working title, by the way, will my release distribute by I think Universal or maybe Sony Pictures. Since he had an agreement, and Bond 26 will be distributed by Universal, but even maybe Sony Pictures might distribute in um, international market because, like it did with Skyfall and Spectre, this James Bond movies were probably released via for Sony Pictures instead of Universal. But we'll see what happens if in Bond 26, one might released by Universal or Sony Pictures in the international market. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. The, so yeah, Amazon NGM Studios has officially signed a deal with international theatrical distribution with Sony Pictures, and I'm really excited what's going on next. Between the Denis Villeneuve was confirmed the director of the next James Bond movie, and this is might begin a new excitement era of the Amazon NGN. So the light will live on within the offer with the Toast Lady. So thank you for watching, and that was a video for today. So give me thumbs up and ring the notification bell, and I talk to you guys next time with another video. Bye bye.